Hi there, everyone, and welcome to the optional critique for this week. I want to do a few quick reminders of a few things I'm seeing a little bit lacking in the designs, and just reminders for everyone on your projects. And then we'll go ahead and move through the list as you have your projects posted on the Facebook page. So, first of all, I'm seeing some really good starts. I think a lot of you are heading in the right direction, which is great. And I obviously think we have a good understanding of the first couple of bullet points here. I'm seeing good visual, symbolic communication. You're blending your images together. That's a pretty tricky part of the assignment. Almost all of them have company logos, but don't forget that. That's really important that you have that in here. Now, I do want to point out you need to have all three of these things, okay? You need to have a headline or a slogan. Then you have to have, in addition to that, 1 to 2 sentences of extra body copy. Okay, this is where you're selling the product and elaborating on why they should buy it. And then your call to action. So stop by Lowe's today or available at Sears. Okay, something as simple as that can be fine. Or wear Crocs, tell them what you want them to do. And then you definitely do need to have these two sizes. Sometimes I'll only get one, and that is a big aspect of this project is resizing them. It's going to take a little bit of time to do that, so you want to make sure that you don't forget that. Okay, so hopefully you've been able to look over those. The main thing I want to focus on this reminder is here in the principles of design, typography, color, and photography. All right, this is where you're going to have the difference between an A and a B project, like I mentioned in the announcement. So I just found this little slide online that is going to remind us of, whoops, I jumped ahead, the design principles. Okay, let's see. Are they going to show up? Maybe not. We'll just show them here. Okay, remember proximity, alignment, repetition, and contrast. I want each of you to look at your designs and to ask yourself if you have these 4 design principles in action. Is your written body copy right aligned with your logo, for example? Are you repeating the same 2 fonts in different places? Do you have a really big headline and a smaller body copy? Do you have your product large, but your font small, or vice versa? Okay, think about those things. And then proximity. I don't want to see everything the same size and just clumped together. You need to have some elements of your written word larger and some elements of your written word smaller. Okay, that's a great example of a way that you could then place those words in different places on the page to help make sense for the viewer's brain. Okay, so here's a good example of those elements in action. We have the repetition of the different fonts. See how it's repeated here? We have repetition of the dark colors. We have a nice, strong right alignment here. We're using proximity to have the slogan and some of the body copy grouped up here. And then this portion with your call to action down here. Okay, and then contrast, see how this is bolded, and then down here this is lighter. So that is an example of all 4 of those principles in action. Okay, so there needs to be some variety, some visual interest that you've put into play by using those design principles. That's very important. Please don't remember the importance of contrasting typography. We played around with that at the beginning of the semester, but really think about the typefaces you're using. If you're just grabbing a classic font like Times New Roman, and then you're pairing it with the first sans serif you see, like Calibri, because you think, hey, this follows the rules, I'd love to see you delve into it a little bit more and try to find something that's going to really add some interest, like this awesome script here in a different color. Talk about contrast. The light bulb is the only thing on this page that's blue. It's the only thing on this page that is in a script font. Okay, so think about things like that carefully. It's really going to help elevate all of your designs. All right, so those are a few reminders that apply to almost everyone. Well, maybe not almost everyone, but a few reminders that I think will really, really help. Oh, and please don't forget white space. white space, white space can make all the difference in your ads. All right, let's go ahead and scroll up here. I have a list. I'm just going to go through and check your names off as we move along. Carly, I don't think you opted in, so we're going to start with Penny. Penny, I know you posted a updated version of your ad, so we'll critique that. I saw it down there at the bottom. Okay, Jackson, you opted in, and I don't think you've posted an update. So let's go ahead and take a look. Good job posting your 2 different sizes. That's great. And I see that you have had some fun with the color here. I like that you have this repeating red and yellow with your typography. This reminds me of one of those places you go to see like a jousting tournament. Their logos are usually in a font like this. So that's definitely going along with the image you have. I like your logo down here. You've done a really good job with that. The main thing I would say is I don't love this red space up here and this yellow space down here. I think it might be better to pick one or the other and then make your image either larger or crop out this portion of the image and make this a full bleed, okay? Or play around with bumping the image up or bumping it down. You could actually eliminate, you could crop this image down so you don't have all this kind of not necessary ceiling tile here. Move this image so it's kind of long and lean, put it at the top or at the bottom, and then maybe play around with how you're going to use this space, because with it just centered here on the vertical line, it's not too exciting with having dead space above and below it. I can tell that instead of deciding how you would use this image best in this space, instead you've just added some extra color to it. So we want to try to avoid doing something like that. It's going to draw attention to the fact that your image didn't fit within the space the way you ideally would have liked it. Okay. And you got your call to action. Excellent. This, I'm assuming, is your slogan, conquer your office. So you do need 1 to 2 sentences of body copy on here. So maybe if you have your image up here, full bleed, or down here you have the image, and then conquer your office by Eagle staplers. And then staplers have only been around since the 1960s, but with how powerful this stapler is, you'll feel like a knight riding in to do whatever you need to do. Okay, so a little bit more elaboration, a little bit more written word on there for your body copy. And then I like how the logo is a contrasting font. I would love to see you maybe pull this font and use it up here to some degree. Maybe conquer your office is in this font, and then your body copy is in that font. Also play around with your sizes, because right now them being all the exact same size, it's not as much of a contrast. I also think maybe this is too much spaced out. This might be too big of a negative space in between these 2 lines. So I might pull them up a little bit. And then I'd probably also pull this away from the edge of the page a little bit. I think it's pretty close to the edge of the page there, which could be cut off when you actually would have this printed in a magazine or lost in the middle of the fold, okay? So think about those things. I really like the way you've blended the images together. You could consider going in and trying to remove this little bit of white along the bottom of the stapler. I think if it ends on the black, it'll look less photoshopped, but you've done a really good job going around the night and eliminating all of that space. It looks really, really nice. The job you've done with selecting all around here, that was probably pretty laborious. So good job there. So yeah, just keep on working on those things. Really pay attention to your white space, contrasting typography, and where you have things placed, okay? Let me glance at this one real quick. This is obviously your Facebook ad. I'm okay with you not having the written 1 to 2 sentences on this one because it's going to get too small. But oh, you know what would be fun on this one? You could eliminate this part of the dead space over here, and then you could actually have your photoshopped element kind of going off into this yellow, so it looks like it's going off of the page. Okay, so you could definitely do that and play around with a little bit of breaking this line here. All right, so I look forward to seeing what you come up with, Jackson. Thanks for your submission. And we'll go ahead. Brett did not opt in. Caitlin, you did. Okay, Caitlin, let's go ahead and take a look at yours. I don't think you posted an updated one. Oh, and here's your Facebook. Okay, so let's look at your magazine first. I definitely like that this is his jousting hand raised in the air there, but it's holding on to toilet paper. The images look good. I think you've lost a little bit too much of his arm. If you could go back in and try to add that arm back in, I think that would be really good. It's getting lost a little bit here with how maybe you've maybe you added some of this cloud or something in the background to cover up something. And so unfortunately some of his arm disappeared there. So maybe you could select that back in. I think that would be helpful. Struggling with your catchphrase. I think it does. I think it makes sense. I will say this font is not my favorite. It looks a little bit dated, and unfortunately, I can't quite put my finger on exactly why. It might be because it's all I see on the page and it's all the exact same size and it's all the exact same color. It might look better. The font might be fine actually. It just might be that it doesn't have anything contrasting it to make it look good. So you have this font down here, but I'm okay with you using two different fonts, not including this one. All right. So if you want to have stay in one font, maybe you have Charmin, you can keep it in this, but stay, try to find something to contrast, or maybe use, try to find something to contrast. And then make sure you get your 1 to 2 sentences of body copy and your call to action on here. I love how large this image is. You've done a really good job with where you place a logo. I'd probably make the logo smaller. Doesn't quite need to be this large. I'd make it exist kind of in this space down here instead, and that'll free you up for a little bit more room for the other elements that you still need on the page. Like I just mentioned in Jackson's, you don't have to have 1 to 2 sentences of body copy on this small ad, but I feel like this is a little bit too crowded. So maybe in this one, you would maybe move Charmin up here and make it even smaller. The softest toilet paper for the toughest men. That's good too. Okay, so make sure you really pay attention to your font on this one. There's not a lot of contrast on that. All right, so work a little bit more on this one and then just remember those principles of contrast, especially on the other one. And that will hopefully help you out and take it to that next level. Image is great, definitely grabs your attention. So good job with that. All right, let's see. Zach, you have posted down lower, so we'll get to you toward the end, okay? Tyson, you opted in. And I remember your sketch for this, so it's kind of fun to see what you were able to find. His neck here looks a little bit fuzzy. That's one of the first things I see. Maybe it would be better to go in and not have any feather. Try and see if that makes it look a little bit, or you could kind of use the clone stamp a bit and increase the transparency to kind of make his neck blend into the wood. So you would grab, you would control click or alt click right here, and then you'd pull this wood up on a transparency of maybe 20 or 30 and blend it into his neck. So it's kind of a gradual line as opposed to such a harsh line right here. You've done a really good job down here placing it in the shirt. It's just where it actually turns into his head that looks a little weird. Loving your font selections. Loving that you have your slogan. You have your body copy sentences. Let's see. Discover what a perfect night's sleep can do. I'll consider that a call to action. because you're telling them there's this verb here, discover. That's what they're supposed to do. So that's good. Yeah, so mostly I would just work on this. You got the white space. Mostly, I don't know. I kind of might like having, I don't really know. Debating whether I should tell you to get rid of the pillow or not. Maybe you could take the pillow and put it down here underneath this and your slogan, and then let this white space breathe a little bit more. It feels a little bit arbitrary to just have the pillow floating against the wall. Um, so if it would feel a little bit more intentional to have it behind this, and then to let your slogan and your contrasting typeface exist in this space up here and have a little bit more room to breathe. So play around with that and see if you like that. Okay, so that's a good start. I don't see a smaller version of that. I'll assume you're working on the Facebook draft still. Okay, so great start. All right, Jamie, you opted in. Let's go ahead and take a look at yours. Okay, so you are doing Rubbermaid. That's the Facebook one. It's kind of small, so let me go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, making the earth greener, one brute at a time. Okay, so we've put this in a pasture. I'm trying to think. Oh, because it's recycling. Okay. Hmm. I'm trying to think about the um, symbolic meaning here. So obviously, the trash can is in the field and it's making the earth greener. But maybe if the trash can itself was green, or if you had flowers growing out of the trash can, maybe you could take a few of these and have them coming up out of the trash can. That would be a little bit better example of a non-literal interpretation of the ad, because we want to be pulling this ad together in a way that sends a message that's non-literal. That's part of the assignment, symbolic visual. So think about that. How can you take this and instead of it being a trash can in a field, make it say something about the way the trash can interacts with the field, interacts with the world? And I don't know, you could have the trash can melting into the flowers, or I kind of like the idea of something coming out of the trash can. So play around with that. Try to figure out what that line is. Your logo you have down here, I might make this logo a little bit smaller. Try to crop around, go in and select this white space so you can get rid of this portion of it so it doesn't look like this has just been placed there. That'll help it look a little bit more professional. You may be able to go in and do Rubbermaid PNG logo. Let's see if we could find one of those. Okay, so here we go. You can go into and download this Rubbermaid logos, and this is going to be a PNG logo, and then you will not need to go in and delete this white background. It's going to be a super awesome, crisp looking logo, which will be great. And then remember, you need to have your slogan, 1 to 2 sentences about your product, and a call to action. All 3 of those things on your magazine ad. I'm okay with you having just your slogan on your smaller one, but all 3 of those need to be here. So making the earth greener, one brood at a time. I love that. So you say, our trash cans are even greener with 27% less plastic or something, and then available at Lowe's. That would be an example of how you do that. One thing I would recommend you don't do is ever have your words on this kind of boxy black background that is a contrasting color and just barely bigger than it. If you want to have some kind of background like this, I would have it probably go all the way off the page. So always think about how you can make something that's a shape a full bleed. Okay, so you can make it bigger, you can make it go all the way off the page. Then here's where you introduce contrasting typography. Here's where you introduce different sizes. Here's where you have this all in caps, but your smaller portion in normal, smaller size letters. Okay. And so you could maybe you're trying to mimic, you could make this font a similar font to this logo, Brute. So this is a nice sans serif, making the earth greener, one brute at a time. So maybe you have Brute in this big logo, kind of similar font, and then greener you could have in a cool green script, which might look nice. And then the rest you could have in a sans serif, kind of like how they did this with the light bulb. Maybe greener is something like this, and then everything else is a nice sans serif. All right, so play around with that. This is a sans serif. This is a sans serif. So it makes sense for one of your types of faces to be sans serif, but make sure you have two. So you're showing me that contrasting typography. And so you have the opportunity to demonstrate proximity and contrast within those typefaces. All right, that's going to help it push it up to the next level. And also those are some of the minimum requirements for the assignment. So you want to make sure to get all of those written word portions in there. Okay. So here, yeah, make sure you have all three of these need to be in that. All right. And I'd love to see you just keep on working on how you're going to make this a symbolic representation of your message. And that's really going to help push it to the next level. Okay. Thanks, Jamie. I'm looking forward to seeing your next draft. All right. Let's see who's next. We have Matt did not opt in. Matt, Crystal, I think you did. Yep. Okay, Crystal. I remember seeing this idea and it looked like a fun one. I'm glad you selected it. Gorilla tape, making every dollar stretch further. I like your background. Love your Gorilla Tape hand with that shadow. I don't know if you made that. If you did, really good job. That looks great. I definitely like how you kind of played around with this dollar and made it a different proportion up here, which is cool. You've stretched it and elongated it across the top, which is really nice. I'm hardly ever going to say that I like a stroke on your type. It's not horrible here, but I still think it would look better without it. So take it off, see if you like it more. If you don't, that's totally okay, but at least give it a try without that. Okay. I like you having this drop shadow here underneath the letters, although I might pull it in a little bit more. One of the rules whenever you do a drop shadow is to keep it light and keep it tight. You've done a really good job of keeping it light, but I would pull it in so it's not quite as wide of a space. So it just exists probably about half the width that it is now away from the actual letter. Okay. And then maybe, I don't know, I like it down here, but on the typeface, I'd probably pull it in a little bit. And then I would encourage you, you have the principle of contrast here by having all capitals, but I would also consider maybe to try to see if you could go a different color. Maybe you want to do this orange. Gorilla tape could be an orange. That might start looking too Halloween-y, so maybe you decide to do a green or a yellow. Pull these colors. Green would go with this. Yellow could go with that. Pull from here. Try to maybe make this a little bit more round. It looks like it was cut from a page that was straight across at the top. So maybe if you could take the circle shape and make a nice crisp oval, that might look a little bit better, okay? So play around with that and see if you can get that to be a little bit more of a clean line. And then down here, you've done good with proximity. This is grouped together. This is grouped together. This looks a little bit weird having it left aligned. I think I would probably have it right aligned over here because you want to have this nice line not be interrupted by another line coming up straight. All right, so see if it looks a little bit better if you pull it over here. Maybe you have it aligned with the edge of his thumb or something. And I would make this smaller probably and try to see if you could have it exist in a space where perhaps if you were to draw a vertical line straight up here and a vertical line straight up here, could you get this to exist right here in a nice tidy little box that doesn't have this ragged edge? Maybe you justify the type and you have your information down here. You could go probably half as small as you do right now, and make sure that you don't have this as wide of a space. See how this is narrower between this line and this line, but these lines are really, really spaced apart. Maybe because you did this in a separate text box than this one. But I would decrease the amount of space you have between these lines. It's looking a little bit too stretched out and not like the dollar bill, not in a good way. So go ahead and play around with that and see if you can get that to work. And I think, unless you want to add in a little bit of extra color or maybe a contrasting type could work too. This is all sans serif down here, so you could play around. Maybe you could have stretch be something different. So keep on playing around with the type to just bump it to that next level because your visuals are looking really, really nice. Okay. And I did have the idea of making the dollar bill a little bit smaller too. That might add in some extra white space. I just saw that Matt mentioned that here. I kind of like having it big, so you could leave this part big and make these a little bit smaller, these 3 lines here, and kind of have the words end along the edge and the swoop of your box. I wouldn't have this close of the period right on the edge of the dollar bill. That's called a tangent when one thing starts or stops right where another thing starts or stops. So just play around with the sizing for a little bit for this and also for these. Really, it's looking great. I love how you blended these 2 images, probably maybe 3 or 4 images together. So that is really, really nicely done. Okay, so just keep on working on that type, Crystal. Look forward to seeing your final. All right, let's see who's next. And down here, you almost lose this. Might pull it up so you have more of the actual tape on the page. Okay, Kate, you did not opt in. Neither did Riley. Susan, you opted in. Quickie plunge. Get it. I get it. Because the plunge is being used in 2 ways. Beginners wanted the plunger for people with better things to do. Okay, I like your typeface, especially this one. Looks really, really good. It's a tiny bit hard to read down here. Maybe try to pull it up a little bit, see if you can. This logo is looking a little bit ragged along the edges. I don't know, did you do that selection yourself? Um, if you did, try to pull in a tiny bit more so you don't see how you have these little parts of white. That is immediately telling me that this image was on something else and has been taken from that and put on here. So if you pull it in a little bit more so it ends completely on the blue with none of this extra white along the edges, it's going to instantly look much more professional. And I saw that you said you were going to continue to work on making his fingers wrap around, which will be great. I like this down here. Maybe a different color. Maybe if you play around with a bright blue, that might look nice. Or maybe a bright blue down here might be more legible. I feel like these are hard. Maybe this red is hard to see because it's a similar depth of color. It's a deep red on a deep blue. So maybe if you made it light and bright, it might be a little bit easier, or you could make it white. And I feel like when you're thinking about contrast, proximity, those type of things, this really needs to be your super impactful headline. But this is bigger and bolder. So this is competing with this. One of them needs to be your rock star and one of them needs to be your backup singer. Okay. So who's your rock star? Probably this. Your backup singer's probably this. And so this needs to get a little bit smaller or do something different with it. I would probably go smaller at first. And this probably needs to get a little bit bigger. So it's rock star. All right. Besides that, you really have most of the elements on the page. I like the images. I like the colors. Maybe add a little bit more variety with the colors. Everything red right now is a little bit safe. I do like that you selected the red because of it's tying in your red plunger, which is awesome. So keep on working at it, but you are definitely on the right track. Okay, thanks, Susan. Here's your bottom one. Let me look at that one. Yeah. Oh, this is pretty hard to read. I'm okay if you take this off on your Facebook one. All right. Just get rid of this part. Um, or maybe get rid of this part. What do you most need on a tiny ad? Probably your headline, probably your call to action. Okay. So maybe keep those things. And I'm okay since this ad is so small with you getting rid of some of the other stuff. All right. Amber, let's take a look at yours. I really like your fonts. So proud of you. Great job getting these. These are looking awesome. Your blended images look good together. I think you might benefit from going in and making the saturation on this image a little bit more intense. Right now it's looking kind of gray, and see how it looks faded compared to the black on the Be Bold. I think the image is going to pop off that page and look even more professional if you increase the saturation of perhaps both the tiger and her. Because I'm assuming this red hair is supposed to be, probably more of a bright auburny purple, and instead it's pretty faded. You could leave her faded and increase the saturation of the tiger, but I'd probably go with both. She's being bold, the tiger inside of her is being bold. Okay. Um, Also, I don't know how big of a deal it is, but this totally doesn't look like a Sharpie. Unless Sharpie has some kind of pens I'm unaware of, maybe you could find a Sharpie instead of this pen, because that might. Is this a Sharpie? I don't know. Maybe it is. Let's see. You probably had a hard time finding that image. Yeah, I think something totally generic looking, like a super generic Sharpie like this, would look even more recognizable in her hands. Or maybe you do a silver or gold one or something. That's blending three images, but it's really going to help you feel like this is a Sharpie. I think it's thrown me because it looks like it has red on the end, and I've never seen a Sharpie like that. Love your white space. Really good. This looks so great. I'm really glad you didn't fill that with anything. You have your call to action. I'd probably add periods, um, just to be totally grammatically correct. And I might make these a little bit smaller. I think they would look nice if you had the find aligned with the L here. So find us at your local store, buy your pen today. Um, you could maybe make both of them justified. You know what I would do is, instead of saying local store, I would try to think of something that is shorter than that. And then you could have these both about the same length at about the same size, and have both of them justified so they have a nice crisp vertical line down. And then you maintain your nice crisp vertical line up that you have here. So find us at, I mean, you're right, you do say local store. You could get rid of one of these, because your call to action could just be buy your pen today, or it could be, you could say unleash. You already have let your inner voice out. I'm trying to think. Let your inner voice out. You could just say buy your pen today and have it kind of aligned underneath this. I don't know. Now I'm thinking of different ideas for what I would actually do. You could bump this up here and have it still right aligned down here and have Sharpie underneath it. Just one line. You could have buy your pen today aligned on the top and the bottom with the logo, and have it be about half this size. Small, nice, tiny, tiny, about this font size right there. And then you would have even more space right down here, which would be kind of nice too. Okay, so play around with this. For some reason, I'm getting caught up here, and my brain is coming up with a million ideas for ways you could make it look just a little bit better. Okay, so keep on playing around with that. But it is looking awesome. I'm really liking it. Here's your Facebook ad. Yes, yes. I still feel like this is too faded, so up that. That's going to really help it. I would consider pulling this up so it's not going to have their website get cut off. Well, this is a Facebook ad, so you're not really going to have anything get cut off. But for just a good rule of design is to not have anything that close to the edge. So I'd pull that up a bit, and then maybe pull these down a little, and then maybe make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so you don't want to have an equivalent amount of white space here and an equivalent amount of white space here. You want to kind of group this with probably this and let this do its own thing. All right. But overall, really, really good start. Looking forward to seeing some of your final little choices there that are going to finish you off. Let's see. Moving on. Matt. Nope. Kesley, no. Meg, no. Catherine, yes. And yours was at the bottom. Was that your one that was finished? Nope, it's down there. Okay, Zach. I think you updated yours again too. Okay, so let's go. Zach, and then Penny, then Jeff. Oh, Crystal. I missed this one too. Shoot. Okay. Here we come up. Here we go. Okay. Zach, I think this is your last updated one, right? Yes. Okay. Lighting Your World by Energizer. Nice. Okay, so you have your slogan, you have your call to action. Remember, you do need to add 1 to 2 sentences of body copy on there, and then you will have all that content that you need. I like it. Very clever. Okay, we've been learning all about the moon and the sun and all of its sizes in our homeschool, so this is fun. I should show my little boy this. And that instantly made me think, oh, the sun needs to be bigger and the moon needs to be smaller, but I understand what you're doing. So we're not going to worry about that. I love that you have all of these different elements working together. They look really good. You have the logo. That's probably why you've pulled out the colors that you've pulled out, this yellow and this kind of intense red that matches the sun. That looks good. I'd like to see some contrasting, excuse me, some contrasting typography. Maybe not some contrasting color because the ad itself is already pretty colorful. But definitely try to work in some contrasting typography, especially once you add in your 1 to 2 additional sentences of body copy. You are going to need to have some different sizes so things fit on here properly. So maybe lighting up, I wonder if you could just say light up your world or lighting your world. No, I get it. Lighting your world. Okay. So lighting your world, maybe you make these a little bit smaller, put them in the middle, make this a little bit bigger. Put it up here. By Energizer, you could make that really small and put it over here by your slogan. And then you could have 1 or 2 sentences of body copy, either right align with some element. Maybe you have it right aligned with your logo up here, or maybe you have both of them exist in a chunk down here in a nice square. Lighting your world. Since 1967, Energizer has been making all the difference between night and day, whatever you want your 1 to 2 sentences of body copy to be. And perhaps a contrasting color, and definitely some kind of contrasting typeface. Okay, so make sure you get that on there. And then let's take a look at your smaller one. I feel like the moon needs to be smaller. I don't know, probably not. It's probably fine. I would pull this down. See how the edge of your battery ends right here with the edge of the moon? Usually we want to avoid things like that. It kind of works in this case, but just to be safe, I'd probably move it down and have it more in the middle. And probably for this one too, it's starting and stopping on the edges for this one. So instead, maybe this one, it has a coil, but this one, it doesn't. I don't know. I'd probably get rid of the coil over here and have them both centered on the moon and on the sun. Okay. I clean up a little bit. See how you have white background on your earth? I'd probably, unless that's supposed to be the sun rising and it's intentional, I would go in and get rid of that little bit of white along the edge, okay? And that'll help it feel a little bit cleaner, just as a circle. And then make sure you add in, well, if this is your Facebook ad, is this your Facebook ad? Logo of the magazine, bottom left. Hmm. Okay, I'm guessing this one is your Facebook ad. I'm okay with you not having the 1 to 2 sentences on the Facebook ad, but I do still want to see some contrasting typography in there. Okay. So keep on playing around. Main thing is we need to elevate your typography so it's at that next level and make sure you get that extra 1 to 2 sentences of body copy on there. Clean up a few small things about the images as well. Okay. So you're on the right track. Just finish those things up. Thanks, Zach. All right, Penny. Now we have your updated ads. World's #1 highlighter. Ooh, that's cool. Good. Okay, I love this image. I love what you've done with the eyes, the eyelashes, the background. This looks like an art exhibit, which is awesome. Thing that's falling a little bit flat for me is the typography. So we have one typography up here, another here. You have this and then that. Um, Instead, I'd like to see them interact a little bit more. They feel really, really separate, which we want to follow the rule of proximity. Um, okay, so first of all, we do need a call to action on here too. So, world's #1 highlighter. Is that your slogan? That's probably your slogan. Here's your 1 to 2 sentences, and then we need a call to action. So, maybe you just add a buy Sharpie or something, or make your world brighter could be considered a call to action because it has a verb in it. Make your world more colorful. Um, which implies purchasing it. I think I'm just struggling with this font, especially combined with this font at the angle. Um, I would probably encourage you to go pull a little bit away from how attention grabbing this is. Because in a way, this is competing with this, and we really want this to be the star of the image. You want your eye to go from the image to your slogan, then probably to the logo, and then read the body copy. Right now, this is almost competing with your image. So that's a little bit problematic from a marketing perspective. I might get rid of world's #1 highlighter. And um, instead, maybe you pull up and say, um, make your world more colorful. And then down here, look for vibrancy by your Sharpie at da da da. Okay. So you have some kind of really catchy slogan because this is kind of your catchy slogan, but really it's concealed as your body copy. And so think of that catchy slogan. Oh, you have it more on here. Let's look at this one. Yeah, this is better. Okay. So this is your Facebook ad. I would get rid of this background orange too. If you could try to just keep, maybe you make it white because you really want your eye to go here. Um, Maybe you make the background white or try to make it this kind of steely gray, or make it, why don't you just zoom in a lot and crop around this image so you have a square and then you have your writing here. Look for vibrancy. The world is a colorful place. Sharpie. All right. So see how there are a lot of elements going on in a very, very tiny ad. And that's not freeing you up to really play around with too much of that contrast. So I would definitely let this be the star, make the image be super big, the eyeball almost the whole Facebook ad, and then your message over here. And you could right align it with the strong right alignment on the page, and then have your logo down here in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, so play around with placement of that, figure out how to simplify this, and let that image be your star and then your slogan next. Okay, which it works better over here. I would probably switch out for some reason. This font is looking weird to me. Try switching it out for a sans serif that isn't, see how this looks almost like it's been smushed from the right and the left, but there's a big amount of space in between the letters. It feels like it's been changed after. And I don't know if it has. Maybe this is just the font itself, but it feels like it's been smushed together for some reason. And then it has these big, big gaps between the letters. If these letters were actually this wide, this would be hitting the space button like 3 times in between each word. So it's looking really weird because of that. So switch out this font for something that looks a little bit more contemporary that is still a sans serif. And I'm fine with you using this colorful here if it's on white space, okay? So let's take a look back. With that in mind, let's take a look back at this one. How could we do that and replicate that kind of feeling on this ad where there's more going on and there's more space? We're going to want to leave the logo here. I think that's great placement. Probably still get rid of this. I would probably simplify, look for vibrancy, the world is a colorful place, and maybe just say, make your world more colorful. Then if you have this on a nice horizontal line as opposed to competing by going up and overlapping with this, I think that would be a great slogan. Then down here, you need to add in your body copy and your call to action, okay? Probably right aligned here with this slogan. To be honest, I might get rid of all of this weird gray lines down here and just simply crop around the edge of the art, the edge of the drop shadow, and put it on a white background. You could leave this brown strip here with the lights if you wanted to. You could leave the top, but it does feel like a kind of busy background for all the other things that you want to draw your consumer's eye to at the same time. Okay, so play around with those things. I think you have something that could be really, really nice and look super impactful and cool once you're done. It's just the placement is struggling a little bit. And also, I would definitely probably recommend doing right alignment instead of having the left alignment right there. Although it is a good place to left align because you have it maybe matching with the edge of the eyeball. No, maybe not. Maybe matching with the W. Okay, but keep on playing around with that. Work on the fonts a little bit more. Feel free to send me your second draft if you want to. Okay, thanks, Penny. Looking forward to seeing your final one. Okay, Catherine, this is your final, right? Yes. Okay, Catherine. Ew, gross. Okay, I like what you've done with the toothpaste. I like this guy with the white space, white t-shirt, white space. Awesome. Love that. Weird writing. What? What is going on with the weird writing? Meth? Death. You're going to have to explain the writing to me, Catherine. I like that it's contrasting. Death breath. Speth. Death breath. I'm sure you have a cool concept behind all these. These just are all words that rhyme, and you're saying you're going to have death breath. Don't smell like death. Brush. Okay, I like this. This is confusing to me. I'm trying to think of if there's a way I could do it that would make sense to my brain, but I'm not sure what your initial thought was behind having all these rhyming words up there that overlap with him. And they're in his hair. I don't know. I might ditch this. Okay. Think about it unless you love it. If you want to explain it to me, send me an email. Maybe then I'll get it. I'm totally fine with you just saying death breath. I mean, that's fine. Here is your call to action. So this is your body copy. Think about the message. Okay, death breath. There's a fish, socks. garlic. Maybe make is that garlic? I don't even know. Whatever this is, make it a little bit bigger because I don't know what that is. Maybe you need to have some kind of message because at first I thought it was all the things he ate, but then there's socks, so that's a little confusing. So maybe you have something that says, "Don't smell like death, brush." You got that down here. Okay, your whole idea behind this is that he has all of the worst scents on his tongue. So why? Why does he have all those horrible things on his tongue? Um, you know, all the bad things around him for some reason have culminated on his tongue, and it's gross. So maybe you have the message of, unbrushed teeth or unbrushing 99.9% of terrible scents land on your tongue or something. I don't know. I'm struggling with this one too, Catherine. Oh, because the socks are just throwing me because I'm trying to say, okay, obviously he has all the bad things he's eaten, but why does he have socks on his tongue? I don't know. Um, Play around with catchy slogan. This is your catchy slogan. Okay. So, or maybe it's just nobody wants death breath. Colgate eliminates 90%, like 100% of the things that don't make you a cool dude that are on your tongue. Something, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, feel free to email me if you need help working out this message because right now nothing's popping into my head. But let's think clearly about a slogan and 1 to 2 sentences of body copy. That's what we need to get on here to get you an A. So let's think about that a little bit more. All right. Um, Honestly, your images, your blending, your logo, those are looking awesome. So we just got to work on this a little bit more. Okay. So keep on working on that. Everything else is looking awesome. Maybe add one more yucky thing on here. That could possibly be an idea, but you're doing good. We just need to perfect this because this is rough. Okay. Thanks, Catherine. Looking forward to seeing your final. All right, Jeff. I looked at yours earlier. Yours is looking good. I love the contrasting typefaces. Love the contrasting sizes. Those are looking good. This image looks great. I just answered your question about whether you could use it or not. And I think for sure you're fine to use it. You're safe under the fair use law. Remember, you can't do that out in the real world, though. Okay. Colors are looking great. I love how everything is kind of this nice grayscale except for this. One thing I would think about that I was thinking about in the messaging. So you're saying she can still open cans, but she can't do it manually. So there are a lot of things these hands can still do. Are you referring to just her hands or his hands too? Um, so I'm assuming you're referring because you say still do to these hands. You could just say there are a lot of there are a lot of things these hands can do. Opening cans manually isn't one of them. Then that would encompass all of the hands, which would be kind of cool. You have the grandma and the grandson, and neither of them can use a can opener. I know my 6-year-old still struggles sometimes using can openers. But if you want to keep the still do, I might still add in that manually too, because your whole message is that you can do it with our product, right? So think about that a little bit more. That'll take it that final step. I love that you've included, we made it easy again. Let's see, do you have a call to action on here? You got your body copy. I don't think you have your call to action. So make sure you get that in there somewhere. Hamilton Beach, good thinking, available at Target. Okay. Here's your tweaking. Oh, you made it kind of faded. There, you got that. Okay. Do you know what? I'm gonna totally throw you. I like it better. not fuzzy. Here's the reason why. Doing this kind of blending is something that used to be done a lot. It makes it feel a little bit dated. Now, the one caveat to me saying it makes it feel a little bit dated is it's a black and white ad. So it's almost okay that it feels dated with the old hands. Almost feels like it's your intent to make it feel like a 1940s, 1930s kind of image that has an old school film feeling. You're kind of transported through this fuzzy time and space to something. So that's okay. If that's your intent to make it feel nostalgic and to make it feel kind of fuzzy and have some kind of statement about time, keep it. If you don't want to do that, I would keep it with this. Personally, from a purely aesthetic point of view, I like this better. If this is your message, go with that. Okay. And this, let's take a look at this really quick. All right. So, um, I'm gonna say I would probably not have the weird fuzzy hands in the middle floating with this gray space. Instead, I would have them nice crisp line exist maybe on the left-hand side of the page. There are a lot of hands there are a lot of things these hands can do overlapping with that black space in her blouse, and then opening cans isn't one of them. Hamilton Beach, da da da, and then just say available at Amazon maybe underneath it. Okay. You can eliminate this part because it's going to get too small to read. Okay. So that's going to help you feel like things are fitting on the page better. Um, yeah. And this is weird placement. If you keep this up here, you could put this and bump it over a little bit more if the image is left aligned and the image ends somewhere right here. This will get pulled a little bit. So there'll be a portion of white space down here. You could then put the actual can opener down here in this space, your logo, and available at Amazon up here, or vice versa. Okay, so play around with that placement. You're making some really excellent choices. Just need to finish it up with placement. All right. And Crystal, I'm going to just glance at this quickly. I like how you've done this. Okay. Good. You made it orange, which was what I mentioned. Make this less wide. These are too far apart. I know you're saying you're making it stretching, but I don't love it. And then I would recommend getting rid of this black stroke and just letting it be orange. That's going to look so much more cool and contemporary and not borderline Halloween. Okay. And then this, I would still recommend right align it with the end of the E. Let's just ditch the period. We don't need to have that period. Right align this message with the edge of your E down here. Have it exist in this super cool space, like I mentioned before. Have it start maybe where the G starts, have it end where your E, which also has a cool alignment with where this E is, and your messaging down here. Pay attention to how far apart these are, because this is the main things that's making your ad look a little amateur right now, is this spacing between your lines, it not being consistent and it being too wide. And then especially over here. Okay, but I love that you did the tape and this. That looks awesome. Okay, thanks. I think that's it, guys. Jordan, you opted in, but I did not see your ad. So unless you somehow escaped me and it got on here and I missed it, I'm going to assume that it is not posted. Okay. Let me just scroll through really quick, make sure I didn't miss it. I don't think so. Okay, thanks guys. That was a long video. Sorry for that. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this project and they're going well. Alrighty, bye.